we alluded to earlier, in one day, 15 to 20 times. What does that say about the risk that they're working on this community? Right? People are taking ownership of that risk. But I think you put a community out there that clearly identifies, hey, this is what you're doing, this is the risk you're causing. Right? People need to take ownership of that risk. I think that onus needs to put on every one of us. Doesn't matter if you're chief or council, doesn't matter if you're a band employee, doesn't matter. As long as you're a band member of this community, it matters. Right? We are an island and we're not putting that message out there. So the other thing with the bridge, and I know about a business suffering because mine has. I'm to the point where I'm ready to shut it down permanently. Because I look at the risk of my business, what it creates to this community. And I've talked to several people in this community about that. And 3 weeks ago, I got an article from back in the 80s that talked about my grandparents when they started that business. And people were getting upset that I considered ending it. So those are real decisions that happen in this community. I know I'm not the only one. Right? I look at the marijuana shops, and you look at some of the distance that people travel and come here. People from Toronto are frequent visitors to this community on a daily basis. We don't even know it. So one of the things I want to see at the bridge is to be regulated. And I think every person should have to give their name and number. And there should be temperature tests taken there too. Right? So it depends on how serious we want to take this. But I think that those sort of things need to be put in there, and I think it's on an even playing field. Like the chief has mentioned, that this needs to be done in a fair manner too. So, and that was the other thing that happened in the first round. It was not done on a fair manner. So it seemed like there was exceptions for certain individuals up here, and that can't be. So, kind of going back to it as a lessons learned, I think that from this table, I think there needs to be clear directives. And it shouldn't be targeting certain departments, but Walpole as a whole. So I think we established that, and that we have those frequent communications. I think we'll start seeing a change in people. But again, I think that onus needs to be put on individuals as well. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Ken. Ron, then we're going to take a break.
Yeah, there's some good points, and I agree totally with what Ken said. But talking about the community, and I think a lot of community go out for the most part because they're looking for products that they need in their household. And it could be medicine, it could be PPE, it could be food, whatever. And I know when this first took place, you've seen a lot of the vegetables and frozen fruits or other things there was a shortage of, and then meat became a scarce product. And I think personally, looking at seeing them people around and going to different places, if you don't want people to move from their retented area, how are you going to keep them there? And I pose this question is, don't you think we should be providing some of that stuff? Like not just the hand sanitizer and face masks and gloves. Those are stuff that, are needed to go if you go out. But there's stuff that, you put our own people put themselves in vulnerable situations to go get that stuff. And sometimes it's not around here. And you have people, like Keenan said, even not for the marijuana, they're coming from Toronto because there's no TP. They're coming from outside the retaining area in Wallaceburg and Chatham-Kent and Sarnia. And they make these places into the hotspots, and our people go into those hotspots looking for that stuff. So I think that's another thing that we have to think about is how do we keep things here that are daily needs or things that they'll need in the future, because those are things that they go look for, food or other things for their household and even hardware supplies. Just saying. So be much.
That's a good point, because, what do you do with people that, have, new home constructions, or they need, immediate repairs, or electrical repairs, et cetera, like that? There's all kinds of various categories and situations, I guess, that we have to take into consideration. And, one of the points, again, I'm gonna stress it, as part of the discussions yesterday, and, the rest of the council members that were present, will attest to this, is that, for all intents and purposes, we don't have a COVID-19 action plan or strategy, I guess, to deal with it. As we sit around this table now, we're identifying large gaps, I guess, in terms of protection and services that we should be providing to our community. And I think that we need a core group, a serious core group, to work on that and develop that policy, so it's presented to the council and presented to the community for consideration and approval, because that's going to guide us. We don't know what the future is going to hold. Maybe 18 months from now, there's going to be another pandemic, whatever scale and size and whatever, because there seems to be a cycle to this. Every 7 years or whatever it is, something pops up that affects us on a global basis. We have to be we have to be better prepared, I guess, to meet those challenges, because we're not there yet. And I have to stress the point that we have to take the necessary actions, whether it's in security, health, education, retailing, policing, etc. But all those things have to come together to provide protection for this community. And we have to start on that project seriously now. Okay, let's take a break. 10 minutes.